Hello everyone, my name is Margaret Byron and it's my pleasure to welcome you today to our symposium on the metachronal coordination of multiple appendages for swimming and pumping. We'll hear from a number of speakers working in a wide variety of different systems, all of which use some variation on metachronal paddling to move fluid or to move themselves. But before we do, we'll take a little exploration into some key concepts, definitions, and what we know so far about this method of fluid motion. The first question is, what is metachronal motion, or what is metachrony? Here's the most well-known example of metachronal motion, the wave in a sports stadium. You may have participated in such a wave yourself. Each independent actor in the stadium has its own motion, which is coordinated into an emergent behavior as a wave, which has a clear frequency, wavelength, etc. This technique is often used in animal locomotion, such as here in this swimming shrimp. The shrimp moves by virtue of its paddling legs. However, the legs are coordinated. Each leg has its own power stroke and its own recovery stroke, but they don't all happen at the same time. Instead, each adjacent pair of legs is separated by a phase lag. This helps the shrimp to maintain efficiency and speed as it swims. You can see here in this beautiful metachronal horse created by illustrator Celia Jacobs that each appendage strikes the ground at a different time in a wave that moves from the front to the back of the animal. Perhaps the metachronal horse might be ridden by the metachronal cowboy. Each fringe on the metachronal cowboy's jacket is moving from right to left, but the wave itself on the jacket is moving from left to right. We call this antiplectic metachrony, where the direction of the appendage is opposite to the direction of the emergent wave. Antiplectic metachrony is often used in swimming, such as in this spherical ciliated swimmer here. You can see that the power stroke of each individual cilium is moving from right to left, but that the wave itself is moving from left to right. When the power stroke of the appendage and the wave direction are in phase, we call this symplectic metachrony. And when the wave direction is oblique to the power direction, we call this dexi or leioplectic metachrony. Each of these different scenarios might be used by organisms for different purposes or different goals. And the performance of these animals can be pretty impressive. Here we have a ctenophore, which is swimming using its 8 rows of metachronally coordinated team plates. And you can see that it has quite tight turning radius, and it's swimming at a pretty decent clip for a gelatinous zooplankton. So using this kind of simple coordination technique, animals can do some really impressive things. We know a lot about this so far. We know that at high Reynolds numbers, metachronal motion can serve to enhance the production and interaction of vortices. We can see that synchronous paddling produces vortices that are quite different than sequentially coordinated paddles. And this kind of helps metachronal swimmers to be more than the sum of their parts, right? We have appendages that are added together but coordinated can produce flows that are very different than just the superposition of several paddles side by side. And at lower Reynolds numbers, we can see some even more interesting things. A low Reynolds number situation would be one in which the viscosity of the fluid was dominant. So if I was swimming in a pool full of molasses and I wanted to take a power stroke, my recovery stroke would have to be different from my power stroke in order for me to be able to move any fluid at all. If I had a symmetric power and recovery stroke, I wouldn't move anywhere. However, if I have many appendages, we can have those appendages move in a metachronal fashion. Even if their individual motion is symmetric, they can break out of this restriction of time reversibility that we have in a low Reynolds number regime. However, we do see geometric asymmetry as a characteristic of most metachronal swimmers. We know that the geometric asymmetry can really contribute to how much fluid is moved by the appendages, and that can have implications for the thrust of the animal, as well as other functional behaviors. Metachronal motion can produce kind of surprising results. Here we have a recent paper demonstrating that in a several metachronal swimmers, the appendages produce thrust, but that thrust is dominated by suction rather than pushing. In another recent paper, we see the same result at a much higher Reynolds number in a robot, where suction is dominating the thrust production. And here I see this as an emergent commonality between these two systems, which at first glance are fairly dissimilar, but functionally are using some of the same techniques or some of the same force production strategies, and we wouldn't necessarily have seen this commonality if we weren't focused on this metachronal motion commonality. And so this is my hope for our symposium today, that you'll get to hear from all of these different people working in all of these different systems, that we'll be able to start to see some commonalities that maybe we didn't see before. And so I encourage you to participate in discussions, to think broadly about what might be common in these many different systems, and above all, to enjoy the symposium. And so I hope you have a wonderful time. Thank you very much for attending, and we will see you in the talks.